There is no doubt in my mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the greatest development in human history is our ability to communicate with each other through language. Humans have a unique ability to speak that is far superior and far more advanced than any other creature that has ever existed on this earth. Without language, we don't have strong families. Without language, we don't have local communities. Without language, we don't have cities, states, or nations. Without language, we don't have a functioning society. Simply put, without language, the world as we know it doesn't even exist. There are currently around 193 recognized countries in the world, and of that 193, around 180 of them have an official language designated by their government. And as of March the 1st of this year, because of the great Donald J. Trump, the United States of America now recognizes English as its official language. The purpose of Trump's executive order is laid out perfectly when it says this, quote, "From the founding of our republic, English has been used as our national language. Our nation's historic governing documents, including the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, have all been written in English. A nationally designated language is at the core of a unified and cohesive society. And the United States is strengthened by a citizenry that can freely exchange ideas in one shared language." Notice the precision in the language there. It specifically states that language is at the core of a unified and cohesive society. Is that even debatable? I mean, what brought the fall of the Tower of Babel? The people were unable to freely exchange ideas in one shared language, and the Tower to Heaven failed in epic fashion. The reason America has not failed yet is because deep down, even a far-left lunatic would admit that English has always been the official language of the United States. Trump just finally stepped up to put it on record. This executive order continues the theme of Trump 2.0 because it's another example of easy, common sense decision making. He knows that the left is going to scream bloody murder about anything he does. So he might as well do things that normal, everyday people agree with. For the majority of my life, we have been shamed into not just tolerating, but adopting and conforming to the standards and norms of the exceptions as opposed to the rules. Think of the old I before E except after C rule. You know, we all learned that as children, and it's a fairly easy concept and rule to wrap our heads around. The left's bread and butter are the exceptions, most notably being any exception to the standard, normal, time-tested man-woman sexual relationship. They believe that an exception should have just as much of the public's attention as the standard. Since the left has dominated the culture, the arts, and the schools for the past 50 to 60 years, they've held the status of a majority, even though their ideas and beliefs cater to a small minority. This is where the old shame part comes into play. The left has been brilliant at shaming us normies into thinking that unless we cater to and conform our society to the exceptions, we're somehow bigots and bad people. This is why conservatives have referred to themselves as the silent majority for so long. The left shamed us into the silence. Trump has come along and handed blowhorns to the silent majority. The silent majority. And I think it's safe to say we're all collectively done with being shamed into silence. So where does the I before E rule, except after C, come into play with language? Have you ever tried calling up like your cable company? You end up getting 15 different language options, and English happens to be option number 5. Listen, I have no problem at all with people that are able to speak multiple languages. It's a useful skill, but it doesn't mean that a foreign language should have the same status as the native language that founded this country. There's a reason why there can only be one captain on a ship. There's a reason why there can only be one head coach of a football team. And there's a reason why there's only one majority owner of a company. It's because at the end of the day, every person sailing on that ship, playing on that team, or working at that company has their own views, ideas, and plans. They have their own lived experience, if you will. But it doesn't matter because they need to unite and be able to follow one leader with one vision under one language. I think this piece of the executive order sums up perfectly what I just tried to describe with that last example. Quote, to promote unity, cultivate a shared American culture for all citizens, ensure consistency in government operations, and create a pathway to civic engagement, it is in America's best interest for the federal government to designate one and only one official language. Establishing English as the official language will not only streamline communication, but also reinforce shared national values and create a more cohesive and efficient society. How can we have a shared national country that we're all proud of when we can't even agree to share the same official language? The simple truth is that the left has no interest in having a shared value of this country because they do not value our country. They hate our country, and they want nothing more than to fundamentally tear it down. The biggest lie that Joe Biden ever told was that he was interested in uniting our country. The man proceeded to divide us like we've never been before. The left thrives on dividing, and what better way to divide us than by ensuring none of us can understand each other? President Trump stepped up and did the right thing to try and unite the United States of America as one nation under God, speaking one language for liberty and justice for all. And with that being said, I do believe it's time to welcome in our good friend, Mr. Ric Flair, because it is showtime, baby. Woo!
Showtime! Woo! Woo! Woo!